Hello YouTube, what is going on? It's your boy GZTV back with another video, and in this video we are going to be discussing the much awaited, the much hyped up season 3 finale of Lil Dicky's TV show Dave. I mean, pretty much like a career documentary, like a fictional documentary about all the trials and tribulations of Dave's career. And yeah, we're here to talk about the end of season 3. So, in season 3, Dave has repeatedly found himself to crossroads, pulled between the allure of life as a celebrity and the comfort of the simpler life spent with people he loves. At times, he has come close to exiting public life altogether, canceling his tour, but he always gets yanked back. Those childhood dreams of hanging out with the stars have a way of sticking with you. That's truer than ever in Looking for Love, with Dave pouring himself into his work to ignore the pain of his breakup with Robin. He should be seriously reevaluating his choices at this juncture, but he has already managed to dismiss her very valid characterization of him and move on to the next thing. What Dave needs most is to just slow down, to stop and appreciate what he has before he risks losing it all. But he can't even appreciate getting 2 A-list actors for his music video without fixating on an unreturned DM from Drake. Yeah, who is actually like in this episode, which is fucking awesome and legendary that happened. As we've kind of discussed in previous episodes, famous guest stars are a big part of Dave, usually used as an indicator of Dave's current level of fame. Like, people still fuck with him, like even after like being famous over 8 years ago. You might have reasonably suspected Hearsay and Met Gala were the peaks of this season in that regard, but this season finale's not only Rachel Adams, but fucking Brad Pitt, as well as an episode-ending cameo from Drake. I mean, no pun intended, but what a time to be alive. It's a sign that if Dave isn't content with this, there might not be any level of fame where he feels fulfilled. Still, the cameos are starting to be a bit overkill, especially when they come at the expense of clarity about our main cast. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. The finale begins on the music video set for Mr. McAdams before moving to Dave's house for a final hangout with Gata, Mike, and Els. Once his friends leave, though, the episode shifts away from its finale vibe to tell a self-contained story about Dave's encounter with Bella, the superfan who made a bust of his head back in the season premiere, which is a really cool thing how it was like premiere and then finale. I like how they did that. Upon Bella's arrival to Dave's house to return his hard drives, the episode shifts to a tone we're familiar with. Comedy mixed with a little horror, and a lot of people are saying this kind of reminds them of like Atlanta, Childish Gambino's show. It turns out Dave inspired Bella to move to Los Angeles to break into the industry, leading her to become a PA on his video. But his throwaway follow your dreams advice came with unintended consequences. Now Bella has the same irrational belief in herself that he does, to the point that her go-getter attitude has crossed into stalker territory. From the moment Bella asks Dave to watch her short film and claims to be the female you, the parallel is clear. Sorry about my sister upstairs. She's essentially an exaggeration of him with many of the same neuroses. And it's so cool to see like Dave like admit this through his show and like admit he has problems. So, shortly after Brad Pitt shows up, following up on an invitation to record at Dave's house and move into the musical space, the episode inevitably becomes a hostage situation, with Dave and Brad working hard to play along and keep Bella happy, who pulls a gun on them. Like, she's not fucking playing around. I'm sorry, there's like a chainsaw upstairs, like a little buzzsaw upstairs. If it interrupts the video, it's fine. I just have to get this video out for you guys. Essentially, she wants to just spend some time with them and prove how special she is, taking advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity the way Dave has in the past. There's some additional stakes, too. Dave thinks Bella saw Emma's clip of him and Mike discussing the death scam, so she has blackmail material to the ready, and this is just, like, getting way worse for Dave. It gets more unhinged from there. Bella demands they smoke weed together, and she later applies plaster to Dave's groin and legs as a way of bonding with Brad over his love of ceramics, and it's like a really fucked up situation. Dave's attempt to escape are far too tentative, though it's admittedly hard to kill someone with a Swiss Army knife. Admittedly, what the fuck is this page talking about? And Bella continues to terrorize the men, peeing on the floor and pressing a gun to Dave's head until he admits he faked his own death. She literally like just pulls her pants down and takes a piss right on the floor. Like, what the fuck? And whoever played this character honestly did a great job. I'm not sure who the actress's name is, but shout out to you, man. As you kind of figure from the beginning, she didn't actually see the incriminating video. It was just kind of on his hard drive. Gaeta shows up eventually, though he can't read the situation, perhaps because Bella's friendliness doesn't feel too far outside what he already gets with Dave. Like, they're literally like mirror images of each other. These parallels have a clear purpose, showing the thin line between go-getter and stalker. Dave probably lives by Kanye's name one genius that ain't crazy credo, but crazy can go too far. And the use of Brad Pitt makes sense to an extent. He's able to help Dave realize that seeking fame just to prove your skeptics wrong is no way to live, especially when the reward is intense scrutiny wherever you go. Dave spent most of the season coveting visibility, even as he tried to avoid it. So hearing from an ultra famous person has its utility, and it's really cool that they had Brad Pitt in this episode. In the end, it's Brad who gets through to him and reminds him that he can't love another person until he loves himself. That maybe his never-ending search for validation will stop once he prioritizes his own mental health. It's an obvious lesson, but one that Dave clearly needs to internalize, and something, Dave is kind of using in this show to, tell us, he struggled for so many years to, love himself, It's a really cool thing. It's a really good expression of self, this show, for him. But I can't help wishing we saw him work through these issues by playing off the rest of the ensemble, not just Brad Pitt and a stalker, who in the end isn't really a complex or interesting character on her own. She kind of relies on the other characters. In our final glimpse of her, she's flailing around in plaster under Dave's elite sex doll, yelling about how she just wanted to hang out. We briefly hear from Emma near the end, mentioning that Dave has thankfully come around promoting her tour documentary, but couldn't we have seen them talk that out? One of the core themes of the season is Dave's complex relationship with women, but we don't even see him interact with Allie at all in this finale, and I think that would have been interesting. To be sure, Pitt has plenty of charisma, and he gets some funny moments, especially the reveal that his name is actually Luke Pitt. The sequence when he stands in the recording booth trying to relay auto-tuned attack directions over an 808s and heartbeat sounding drone is both intense and amusingly absurd. But this is a rare supersized episode, clocking in at 48 minutes, and I'm not convinced the extra time was necessary for this story. They kind of were just centered around this stalker situation. Dave's comedic voice thrives the best when each scene is tight, and too much of this plays out the way we'd expect. Besides, you really can't do a successful joke about forcing Brad Pitt to cancel himself with a racist accent, where there are actually well-known child abuse allegations against the man. He's already been attempting. People have already attempted to cancel this man many times. Using Pitt in a smaller capacity might have been better, especially with the early meta joke of Dave telling him, I think it's kind of cooler to not overuse you. I agree. Really, though, he's not the main problem. The stalker plot in general just feels a bit by the numbers for this show. It might have fit better during the tour portion of this season, I would say. In fact, I spent the first few episodes of this season expecting Dave to do a stalker story, which was part of why this storm was so pleasantly surprising. That episode subverted the expected horror turn, wringing surprising pathos out of Meg's earnestness. Compared to Meg, Bella feels like a cliche, meant more to elucidate something about Dave than anything else. And most of the beats here just feel familiar, even the climax of her shooting Brad Pitt with a crossbow. It doesn't leave much room for the ostensible emotional climaxes of the finale, which are crammed into one montage. We see Mike introducing Ava to his dad, a huge moment that deserved way more build-up than we saw. And we see Els announcing his plans to start his own record label, an intriguing end of a subplot that, again, we saw very little of. These mini resolutions play out over the audio of Dave's note to the best he ever had, finally being honest about his fear of putting himself out there emotionally. And then, Dave meets Drake somewhere in West Africa. I'm not opposed to seeing Drake on this show. I may not love, I like Drake a lot. And obviously him on TV on Degrassi was great as well. But this kind of feels like a waste, an awkward epilogue that doesn't really answer our questions. Is the idea here that the episode prepped us to see Dave reuniting with Robin to meet their adopted elephant, but instead gave us yet another example of him choosing fame? Or should we believe what he said in that letter and have a positive outlook on what's next? I can't really say. Parts of this ending feel like they're meant to suggest that Dave will be more honest with himself now, and that he and Robin will even get back together. That could possibly be something we see in Season 4, which I'm pretty sure has been confirmed. But I wanted to feel more catharsis here, a final button that directly dealt with the fallout of the last episode's drama, especially given the episode title, like the Looking for Love. This should like wrap it up and like give the whole theme. At the end of Looking for Love, we don't have a solid grasp of who Dave will be going into season 4, unlike the previous finales. Dave is not a conventionally plotted show, and I like that about it. Most episodes are largely standalone, building character arcs cumulatively and often in the background. Like, the show doesn't really follow an order, and I kind of like that, honestly. It's really entertaining television. But overall, Season 3 may be its most serialized and most consistently good season yet, even if it only occasionally reached the highs of Dave at its best. So it can be mildly frustrating when the show indulges in a flight of fancy when I'd rather just see everyone grapple with their journeys more directly. The finale does end on a fitting note with Drake asking what to call him, Dave or Lil Dicky. That's the central question of the show in a way, and it makes sense that we don't get to hear Dave's answer. But while I understand the value of that ongoing ambiguity, I'm still left craving something a little more substantial, some apology or reconciliation that suggests a path forward. This episode hinted at revealing the death scam to the world, which would have made for some exciting conflict, but in the end, Dave just continues on his upward career trajectory unimpeded. Nothing was the same, but everything was the same. So yeah, like the whole thing with Gata and the Nut House would be cool to see play out as well. Season 4 has a lot of plots kind of set up with Season 3, which I like, and that's obviously like the purpose of a TV show, but I don't really have much to say. It was an enjoyable one. I think the cameos are really cool, but sometimes it just kind of takes away from Lil Dicky himself and like the story he's trying to tell. But I'm out, guys. I gotta go to my grandma's. That is gonna do it for the morning content. I don't know. I'm gonna give you guys like a edited review, not like a reaction. I'll probably just review it on the channel. I think I'm gonna do that more like